In My Hero Academia's manga and anime, Deku has trouble controlling the awesome power of One for All, so his suit undergoes various upgrades. One of these upgrades includes changing the materials that his suit is made out of, which serve to keep it from tearing so often. It generally made the outfit and cowl look cooler, but that isn't all the first redesign did. Deku's original outfit featured some knee pads, and that was basically the only protection he had besides some basic gloves. The reason his suit needed to be changed so badly was because his mom was the one that made his suit, and his suit had no sort of function when paired with One for All like the other students' suits. Jiro has speakers on her suit's legs, Bakugo has a large grenade-like add-on that can gather his sweat for larger explosives. Deku's suit well, it looked dumb, and other than the sentimental value it offered him, it did nothing. Deku's new outfit includes tons of protections for his legs, and it has iron shoes and bracers to complement his shoot style. It also features enhanced gauntlets that reach all the way up his arm. These are meant to better distribute the shock from his punches throughout his full arm, allowing Deku to use a higher percentage of his power more comfortably. Recently in the manga, Deku got another upgrade to his gauntlets by Hatsume in the support division. These new gauntlets are designed to let him use Delaware Smash rather easily, and they're good enough that he can shoot 5-finger flicks of air at a higher level of control. These gauntlets also wrap around his hand to form a sort of cannon for bigger air bursts. Obviously, Deku has tons of help from the support division, but where's the love for the other characters? Kirishima and Kaminari have gotten suit upgrades, but there's one character that I feel would benefit from a costume redesign. Obviously, you clicked on the video because you already know who that is, so let me not do the whole song and dance routine to get you to guess. Obviously, we're talking about Katsuki Bakugo. Bakugo's outfit has been... well, it hasn't changed since the beginning of the series pretty much, and this has exposed some of Bakugo's bigger weaknesses, and some of the benefits from his regular suit. Let's talk about these first. Bakugo's main weakness is that he can only output a certain amount of explosive force before the bones in his arms start to crack and eventually break. This happens over and over again in the series, and even though Bakugo has his grenade bracers that help him get around this, these are broken time to time, and oftentimes he doesn't even have them on. So we need to come up with something for Bakugo that makes it so that basically anywhere he goes, he can be prepared with a massive destructive output that doesn't put his own body in danger. I was actually thinking of tons of ways that this could be done, but eventually I found something online that was done by an amazing artist that I'll link in the description. It seems like this person had the same idea because their design for Bakugo takes care of all of the problems that I listed in my notes when I thought about what Bakugo would need, and he even built upon it and gave him cooler stuff. So first off, for this redesign, Bakugo has metal that covers his arms. These high-tech metal gauntlets cover his entire arms all the way up to his bicep. The arms are bigger than his usual arms, but he can control them completely. Obviously, for them to be made of metal, they'd need to be made out of a super powerful metal in order to keep them from crumbling under the force of Bakugo's explosions. Seeing as his skin and muscles tend to be fine from these explosions though, I don't think it would take whatever my hero's version of vibranium or adamantium is to make, even though, obviously, either of those substances would make their construction 1,000 times sturdier. The arms have exhausts on them that can generate and remove excess heat from the area around Bakugo's arms. These could actually make it so that Bakugo's arms and hands sweat even more, allowing him to have a constant source of heat which would allow him to sweat profusely on command. This means the output of Bakugo's explosion should go way up, and now with these sturdy arms, his arms should be capable of taking ridiculous punishment. To help his body control his new explosive output, Bakugo also has a spine bracer that makes it so that his explosions distribute evenly throughout his body. You may be seeing a pattern here, but the huge selling point of these arms and this redesign is that it makes it so that Bakugo can 1. Use high power explosions, 2. Use them with minimal recoil and maximum precision, and 3. Shoot more targeted explosions at further distances. Effectively with these arms, Bakugo becomes My Hero Academia's Genos. There's nothing that says he can't use destructive powers to make beams of some kind of this design also, and he can even possibly enhance his flying to the point where he could probably just fly whenever he wanted. One of my favorite parts about this redesign are the vials. So Bakugo's grenade gauntlets do store up a bit of his sweat, and he can use that sweat to create large flash and stun grenades, but it seems like he can store up only one of those explosions per gauntlet. With this redesign, Bakugo has large vials of sweat that he can load into his arm like gun ammo. These vials might actually hold more of his sweat than the gauntlets do in each vial, so could you imagine Bakugo just shooting off huge explosions like they were coming out of a gun? What do you think about this upgrade? It seems like the artist depicts these more as replacements for Bakugo's arms, but I don't think he'd go that far to gain control over his quirk. Biotech arms over his existing arms seems like the best bet, but if you can think of something better, or if you can draw some really cool redesigns for other characters, send them my way on my Twitter and I might even do a video on them. Who do you think would win with all their upgrades, Deku or Bakugo? Let me know, and make sure to like this video if you enjoyed it or thought the redesign was a good idea. Continuing with my series of looking at various different upgrades that different heroes in the My Hero Academia universe could get, I want to look at Deku. Previously, we've looked at some cool possible upgrades for Bakugo, and a lot of you weren't here when that video was made, so if you haven't seen it, I'll link it below. But there's two reasons why I'm doing this video. One, because Deku is actually getting a suit upgrade in next week's episode, and if you want to learn more about that suit and why it needed to be upgraded, then you can check out my two-part series on Deku 2.0. Two is because I actually found some really cool art, and the creator of that art is cool with me using it, so I want to put a spotlight on that since I'm a massive fan of My Hero Academia and the community in general. And also, I just think it's important to support anyone like this person who's out there making great content for the fans like you and myself. With that said, if Deku's new suit in the anime is Deku 2.0, then I'm looking towards the future and I'm going to be talking about an entirely new suit design that would take him to Deku 3.0 status, or the level that I think he'd need to be at by the end of his time at UA, or at least at the end of his first year. This is pretty much a UA endgame outfit for Deku, but instead of just talking about it, how about we actually talk about it? Yeah, that was some bad writing, but either way, let's get started. So first off, I want to shout out to the artist Daru O, or Daru O Eyes, I'm not really sure. He has a shop where he actually has an entire fan magazine based off of upgrades to various characters, and if you want to buy that magazine, you can do so with the link in the description. I'm not being paid by this guy to do this video, and he isn't sponsoring this at all, so I'm honestly just putting this here to say thanks to him and to help him get some support, since being an artist can be pretty difficult. With all of that said, let's get to the meat of what this video is about. Deku needs an upgrade, and here's why. Deku's outfit throughout the series has been pretty meh. He wants to stick close to what his mother originally designed from, and I don't see him ever departing much from that green jumpsuit, but we definitely do see him add new things to the outfit. With Deku's beta outfit, he added gloves and all sorts of padding and whatnot, and changed the bluish green of his outfit to a darker green. He didn't actually ask for these changes, so he seemed a little bit annoyed when they were made, but all in all, he accepted that these changes were necessary, so he just accepted them. Right now in the anime, we're actually seeing Deku want to upgrade his costume on his own for the first time, and that leads to the Deku Gamma outfit. Deku's Gamma outfit goes along with his new shoot style as well, and that brings Deku's level up significantly as far as what he can do, how much damage he can do, and how much damage he can take. His look changes pretty drastically with this new costume, as he gets really long gauntlets that cover up and support his arms, and he gets new metallic legs that he wears to really help him generate force with his new kicking style. The shoes themselves have a mechanic that makes them really powerful by turning the force of Deku's kicks into an explosive force that is also put out by the Iron Souls themselves, basically doubling the damage that Deku does of his kicks. While this suit is amazing, it isn't the end of what Deku can get, and it definitely isn't quite at the level that it needs to be looks-wise, so let's get into Daruo's designs. Here's what he envisions for Deku. There is a lot going here, but we'll take it step by step to really gauge what each of these pieces of his costume really does. Thankfully, Daruo has given us details on each part that he added to the costume, so we can really go in depth into what's going on here. First off, let's talk about Deku's mask. Deku almost never wears his mask, and this becomes sort of a plot point later on, but I think Deku has only ever worn his mask and cowl like once in the actual story.
For a hero, hiding your identity can be pretty important when facing off against certain types of villains. Depending on the reach of a certain villain, you might be putting your entire family in danger just by walking around with your face completely exposed, and Deku's outfit literally has a mask that'll cover half of his face that he never picks up and puts on. The new mask in the design gets rid of that problem by giving Deku a mask that is always on his face and can open and close. This isn't just useful for covering his face, but the mask itself has features that are super useful. The part that goes around his face actually has headphones that can help Deku with hearing threats from further away than he's used to, and they could probably be used for surveillance with some tweaking. The mask also offers protection from poisonous gases with a filtration system, and it's sturdy, so it'll protect his face from a variety of attacks, which is important for a character that's supposed to be the symbol of peace. You want a hero with a face that everybody can see, undamaged and clear, and this mask definitely goes in the right direction with keeping Deku's face safe for multiple threats while also helping him and giving him a way to use it for what it's designed for. The shoulders here are just for a simple protection. Deku already has some sort of shoulder protection on his costume, but this is definitely more. I'm not sure if I'll agree with these shoulder pads since I think they might limit his movement a bit, but if they don't limit the way that he's able to move his arms or body at all, then there's nothing wrong with them being here. The next thing that we'll talk about next is Deku's gauntlets. You see, Deku obviously needs something that'll absorb shock from his attacks and keep his arms from breaking. He uses shoot style to minimize the amount of damage that his arms take, but Deku will still have to use high power smashes from his arms from time to time, and because of that, he needs to have some sort of support that would keep him from losing the use of his arms. These gauntlets are significantly padded, and I'd mix them with the gauntlets that Deku is getting in his costume Gamma to really make them perfect. You see, the Gamma gauntlets have spikes on the inside that support Deku's arms in all of the right places to absorb shock and save his arms from damage. But what do they do if Deku's arms do actually get damaged? Nothing. These arms keep that in mind, and they actually have small built-in microcomputers that serve two purposes. The gauntlets keep track of Deku's bones and any damage that he receives. If Deku's arm breaks, the gauntlets actually compress and become a sort of cast for Deku's arm, keeping him in the fight and making sure that he can still continue with his high-powered punches for a while also minimizing the damage that he's taking. This is amazingly intuitive, and I really hope that Deku actually does get something like this because it sort of reminds me of the black armor that Guts has in Berserk. This armor basically holds his body together as he tears it apart from the inside while going absolutely wild. So anything that can make Deku a little more like Guts is a major A+ in my book. The second thing that these gloves do, however, is actually pretty awesome as well. The arms have a booster on them for making Deku's punches even faster. This means that Deku's blows will come out quicker, and he can even limit his usage of these gas-propelled punches so that he can catch enemies off guard with a punch that he didn't expect to be as fast as it is. Obviously, having faster punches means having more powerful punches, and will follow the protection that these arms bring him. I'm sure Deku will feel a lot better about letting loose huge punches and smashes in dire circumstances, since he knows he wouldn't be putting his arms in as much danger as he did when fighting Todoroki or Muscular. The final thing that's part of this new design is his legs. The legs do look like another cool version of his Iron Souls that he'll be getting in the Gamma costume, but they're missing the part that makes these so cool, the shoes. I'd assume that Deku would keep that part of his costume, since it's so useful due to the explosive power that his new iron shoes produce when he kicks, so let's just say that those legs are mixed with these in his endgame suit. Why these though? Well, much like his arms, these legs also have boosters that would significantly raise the speed of Deku's kicks, allowing him to kick faster and harder with less of a load on his legs. This wouldn't just affect his kicking speed though, as the boosters could also help Deku make nimble movements even quicker, like jumping or dodging. Overall, the goal of this redesign is to make sure that Deku can use more of his full cowl power at higher percentages while also minimizing damage and preventing self-injury. I think this design does a lot to move in that direction, and it's definitely an interesting take by a fan in the community. With these tweaks, this outfit could easily be the one that gets Deku through his 3 years at UA. Changing the legs a bit to include his shoot-style Iron Souls and changing the actual gloves he has here to be the ones that he gets later on down the line in the manga would pretty much solidify this suit as Deku's actual hero outfit, and I hope we get some similar changes in the future. What do you guys think of these upgrades and changes though? Did you like them, and most importantly, does it look cooler than Deku's original suit? Let me know in the comment section below, and if you enjoyed this video, smash that like button with either a kick or a punch. Either is fine because it's been built to take the abuse. Subscribe for more videos and hit that bell icon to become part of my League of Notifications, who get a notification whenever I upload. Shout out once again to Daruo for his great designs, and check out the Bakugo upgrade video if you're not satisfied and still need more upgrades and stuff.
Shoto Todoroki is a young male that attends the UA school for would-be heroes. He has some serious elemental powers since his quirk allows him to control ice and fire on one side of his body each. This quirk is super powerful, and he has a pretty solid control over his ice side, as well as decent control over his fire side, but his mixture of the two has been really weak and rare. Todoroki has changed throughout his time in the series, since he went from being a sort of detached and dark figure to being a sort of reluctant big brother to the class. It's about time Todoroki's outfit got updates and upgrades so that he can take on enemies with even more efficiency, no matter what sort of abilities he's trying to bust out. The entire goal of his quirk is for him to have the perfect mixture of Endeavor's super powerful fire quirk and a quirk that'll let him cool himself off so that he can use it perfectly without overheating. If you're familiar with this channel, you already know what time it is. We're going to be talking about a possible suit upgrade for Todoroki, but I first want to remind you guys that you can follow me on Twitter at VocalPineapple for all the wild stuff that I tweet and, say on there. You can follow me on Twitch for game streams, and the link to that is in the description. And of course, I'd love it if you'd hit that sub button if you enjoyed this video. Let's get to the video first though. Hit it! Pretty normal, I guess. I mean, it's more or less a blue shirt and pants combo with white boots, some sort of shoulder vest armor plating, and a utility belt that carries some sort of medical supplies in case he has to save anyone and treat them on the spot. He also has a bracelet on each arm, and I think those bracelets have metal plates made of material that helps him regulate the temperature of his attacks. Overall, the suit looks pretty generic because he sort of just looks like a really cool janitor, but I like it better than his original all-white Miami Vice style hero outfit, where like he covered half his body in ice to reject his fireside and stuff. That was weird. This time, we're going to be making a costume that helps him use his quirks together or better in succession instead of hiding half of his identity. If you're new to this channel, you can check out my other costume upgrade videos because so far I've already done Ochako, Deku, and Bakugo. Stick around to the end of the video to find out who I'm doing next, but let's get started. So what are our goals for Todoroki's suit upgrade? Well, we want to increase the duration that he can use both his hot and cold sides, and we want to make it harder for him to overheat or overcool. This is rather important because Todoroki tends to rely on his quirk pretty heavily. Even though this is a weakness and he should definitely learn some martial arts or techniques that he can do to defend or fight close quarters, we still want to give him the ability to rely on his quirks more efficiently when he does have to fall back on his ability to summon large icebergs and fire waves. That means this suit is going to have to enhance that ability somehow, but it's also going to have to give him some sort of protection. Todoroki is a mid to long range fighter, and he's a combat hero that can also do some crazy stuff with fire and ice, but he also needs to be able to regulate his body temperature to prevent from overheating or frostbite. The first piece of technology that we're going to talk about is his chest plate. Like we just said, Todoroki isn't too good at close combat, and both Bakugo and Deku have gotten between his defenses and hit him with a solid strike, so he needs some sort of chest armor that isn't made of ice so he doesn't overcool himself. This chest plate is a piece of armor that protects against close combat attacks, but it also serves another function that we'll talk about in a second. This chest plate matches his new hero outfit, and trust me, even the jacket that he has on plays a role here, so having the chest plate match is a stylish and tactical choice as well. You may notice that the front of the chest plate has some small water looking pockets, and there's some sort of plug in the back. Well, that's where we introduce the second part of the upgrade. The water-cooled vest attaches to the hard points on the back of the chest plate, and it goes around Todoroki's shoulders like a sort of backpack that is also an attachment for his chest plate. It still has that armored part that goes around his shoulders, so that part of his costume looks similar to how it did before, while still offering extra protection to his shoulder joints. That's not the main function of this water-cooled vest though, of course. The vest uses water to regulate body temperature. The water is held in two tanks on Todoroki's shoulders that are made of some heavy-duty and temperature-resistant glass. If you saw the water boiling or freezing in these pods, Todoroki would have to be getting really hot or really cold. because these pods of water and their loop are protected from the thermal energy that he produces. The water loops through the connection in the hard points between the chest plate and the vest, and it circulates the water back and forth to keep Todoroki's temperature regulated. This vest simultaneously cools and heats the left and right sides, giving Todoroki help with his training on doing this naturally. I think the chest plate and water-cooled vest combo is really smart because it pretty much lessens the character's biggest weakness, and it also gives us some really cool visual cues for when Todoroki is getting serious or going all out. We already have a sort of visual cue for that in the manga, where Todoroki's little shirt clasp kind of like bursts open, he's about to unleash his new attack in the Journey training arc. But how cool would it be for like Todoroki to get pissed off and for you to see steam coming out of the back of his chest piece? I like to think that steam is in Todoroki's future anyway, and I still am planning on talking about Todoroki and steam in the future, but for now, let's get to the next part of his outfit. Todoroki's utility belt seems pretty lazy. Like, he just has items dangling out on little wires that could easily break and leave him without those medical supplies that he carries around, so it's about time that he gets a better, more professional belt. His new utility belt is redesigned to prevent items from dangling out, and now his vials are actually color-coded for convenience, so he knows what's in them before handing them out. This is definitely useful now since he can just use these vials or hand them out without having to look at them too closely or read them, and he can just load them up in the morning when he's putting on his suit without maybe mixing them up or anything. Instead of dangling, the vials are latched on with these latches that are included with the belt, and the vials contain stuff like water, painkillers, and antibiotics. What else is there? Well, you may notice that his actual base jumpsuit is different. This isn't just because his style was bad or anything, this was actually to give him a thermostatic jacket. This means that his jacket actually has material and technology that senses the body temperature in any given spot or portion of his body, and it adjusts it to better help Shoto adapt to his body temperature. You could just say that this jumpsuit runs off of the kinetic energy of Shoto's movements, or maybe there's a solar charger on the chest plate, but this jumpsuit serves as another layer of help and protection at the very base level. Shoto's bracelets have been replaced with arm bracers, and these arm bracers could have the same technology as the technology in his thermostatic jacket, but they could also have smaller cuts of the metal that Todoroki was using in his already existing suit upgrade. That's pretty much it for the individual components, so let's go over it all together one last time. This Todoroki hero suit upgrade tries to tend to his most pressing need, and it does it in plenty of ways. His jacket is made using technology that adjusts to cool or warm the body depending on what it needs, and it also serves as a stylish upgrade to his existing costume. His chest plate offers him some light to medium duty protection for his heart and vital organs, and it also has areas for water to flow from his water-cooled combat vest to keep his body temperature regulated. The vest has water pods, vents, exhausts, and all sorts of stuff built in to make sure that it sticks with Todoroki through all of his high temperature outbursts. Finally, his utility belt has a more professional design that takes care of his supplies in a more careful way so that they're available to him when he or someone he's saving needs them. Todoroki obviously has potential to be a great hero, and he might even have the potential to be one of the greatest heroes ever besides Deku, but to do that he has to master both sides of his quirk, and to take it even further, some sort of combination of the two that only he can do. His true quirk and his true identity lies behind that wall, and this suit helps him get there as a sort of like temporary training wheel. I think of it as a UA outfit for Todoroki because I would hope that he wouldn't need help regulating his body temperature when he's a pro hero already. But for now, while he's in school, I definitely think it'd be okay for him to have some help, especially when the main character literally has access to help from the strongest hero that's ever existed. What do you guys think of this suit design? Do you like it, and do you want me to keep doing more of these? Let me know, of course, in the comments section below, and please like the video since that really helps me get these videos out there. In My Hero Academia's manga and anime, Ochako Uraraka is a young girl that attends the UA school for would-be heroes. She has the power of gravity, which sounds broken, but the actual application of that quirk is fairly simple. Ochako's suit hasn't really changed that much for the entire story, but Ochako herself has definitely been changing. She's gone from being around just to service Deku's plot to being a fearless warrior, and it's about time her outfit and design was looked at again to see if there's anything she can get to make her life any easier and to match this new way of fighting that Ochako learned after her internships. let's discuss a possible Ochako suit upgrade after the end. Costume is pretty basic. I mean, it consists of a pink and black skin-tight suit with huge boots and these 2 bracelets on each arm that have handles on them so that people can hold on to them if she needs to make them float to save them. Overall, the suit looks sort of weird, but it's also apparently designed to hit several of her acupuncture points, which actually helps her with the uneasiness that she feels from using her quirk. Remember that Ochako gets queasy when she makes something heavy float, so being able to counteract this nausea by just having a suit on is pretty great. All in all, her hero outfit isn't terrible, but it just looks weird. It all sort of fits together when she puts her helmet on, and it does match her kind of bubbly and pink personality, but we could definitely do better here. You guys may remember my Deku and Bakugo suit upgrade videos, but a lot of you are new, so let me take a quick second to bring your attention to those. In my first 2 costume upgrade and redesign videos, I talked about the amazing art and images made by some great fans out there. In this video, I'm actually using art from the same artist that designed Deku's redesign, and you guys love that, so support the artist. The artist sent me a link to their shop, which you can find in the description, and you can actually own an ebook with Deku and Ochako's redesigns, but the book also features more. Shout out to Daruo for the amazing art, and obviously for the permission to make the videos in the first place. Alright, so with Deku's redesign, we focused on making sure he was as safe as possible from the drawbacks of One for All. Having shock absorption was key, but improving on what Deku could do with support items was another thing that the artist set out to do. The same design laws were kept in mind of Ochako's redesign and upgrade, so let's get into the various changes that Ochako could make to her costume to really take her up to the next level. This upgrade for Ochako will really start to make her feel like the pro hero Uraraka, and it's designed for long range and support hero status in mind. It consists of 7 different parts, so let's get started. Here is Ochako in her new suit. Already it looks a lot better than her existing one, and you can tell the utility here is about to be crazy. First off, let's start with her helmet. Ochako's visor is a very good way for her to protect her face from falling debris, but it's also a good way for her to avoid getting anything in her eye like bugs or dust when she needs to jump headfirst into a situation and float away from someone. I actually like the visor, but it's time that it actually served a real purpose. Her upgraded visor is called the Alternate Reality Visor, or AR visor for short. This visor is meant to improve on Ochako's situational awareness, and it allows her to maintain the various systems that are a part of this new outfit. First off, the helmet acts as a receiver for radio signals from allies. This makes it so that Ochako has an easy way of communicating with fellow heroes and getting the exact details on what's going on. This is useful because Ochako is fairly quick on her feet and she's a quick thinker. She's the kind of character that'll see something happening and knows what to do and how to handle it, jumping in headfirst to try and help. Her having all of the available information is definitely going to be key in any situation. The semi-clear screen on her visor allows images and other useful information to appear in front of her face, without it actually blocking anything that's going on. Think of Iron Man's helmet HUD and you pretty much get the idea. Another use could be that her helmet could show her structural weaknesses in things and buildings, and that would be useful information to her since she can use her quirk to prevent a further loss of life, or she can use her quirk to obviously grab giant pillars and use them to attack as she's done in the past. There's another use for the AR visor, but let's get back to that in a moment. Next up, we have Ochako's arm guards. She already had some small bracers on her arm, but having actual arm guards would serve as bonus protection, and it would fit well with Ochako's martial arts use. Having hard arm guards to defend with or to bash people's heads in with would help Ochako defensively and offensively. These arm guards are actually hiding the 3rd and 4th upgrades to her suit. Remember how her main costume is designed with pressure points in mind? Well, this costume is designed with that in mind also. Ochako's new costume features pressure point massagers in her arm guards and on her neck piece. These pressure point massagers are miniaturized to allow easier range of movement while still maintaining the same effect as the original. They're sleeker and less bulky, but they are missing those cool handles that Ochako has on her original costume, so I would definitely add those on somehow. The gloves also have zero gravity boosters, which fire small bursts of high pressure gas to change directions when she's floating. These are fairly similar to the air pressure boosters that you can find in Deku's redesigned costume, but they'd actually be very useful for Ochako too. Since she can remove the gravity from something, Having boosters on her outfit would give her free range of movement in the air, and it would also basically allow her to fly. Depending on how strong the air output is from these, Ochako could actually just fly around like the anti-gravity superhero that she is. But even if the gloves didn't output air at a high enough pressure, she'd still be able to use them to shift her direction in midair, which might mix well with her combat style. In season 2 of the anime, Ochako interns with Gunhead, a pro hero that teaches her all sorts of apprehension techniques. Ochako has taken his training to heart, and she actually gets really fierce when it's time to lock someone down. We see this in the anime when she's fighting Toga and actually holds her own for a bit, even though Toga is agile enough to injure a pro hero. Also, Ochako's bravery can't be questioned because she literally grabs the hand of a character that can one-shot you with their hands. If that doesn't take some courage, then I don't know what does. Imagine if Ochako was coming at you with her gunhead style apprehension techniques, but she could freely move in the air. She could approach you at any angle and have access to a number of her techniques, and that's pretty awesome. To help with landing and maintaining her readiness, Ochako's boots have been upgraded as well. These boots are filled with shock-absorbing compounds and fabrics that can make it so that Ochako doesn't take any fall damage. I mean, as a character who can control gravity to some degree, it'd be weird for Ochako to take fall damage or to have trouble getting back on her feet. These boots are designed with that in mind, but they're also streamlined to allow for quick movements. This should allow for Ochako to land on the ground in a much more stable way, which should give her more range of movement and more options on how she wants to attack or pursue somebody, but they also don't look so big and heavy, so the lessened weight should help her maintain her quirk. Finally, we come to the 6th and 7th upgrades on this costume, and these are the fun ones. First off, Ochako's existing utility belt has a pretty awkward design. To do away with that, her utility belt here has a much more utility-oriented design. The wing sides of her belt could be affixed with additional boosters to really make her move in the sky, but the belt also serves as protection for her midsection, and also serves as a place that she can put various tools like handcuffs or tasers that she can use for arresting a suspect. I'd imagine that she'd also carry various medicines or support items in this belt so she could use them to help someone in a dangerous situation, but the main function of this utility belt is to charge her new support item, Funnel. Funnels are an autonomous trap specifically made for Uraraka. When activated, these things will float to a high point in the air. They're equipped with zero gravity boosters, so their positions can be changed once they're floating in air. Once they're in air, Ochako can use her quirk to drop them on people to stun them, but Ochako could also have a large number of these attached to her belts, and they can do various things. Some could be equipped with electrical stun options, some could be filled with hard rocks or needles that Ochako could then drop on her enemies with her quirk, or they could even just be configured into transforming arm cuffs that literally float in the air and fly towards the hands of enemies. She'd need to go to Hatsume to make these changes, but I'm sure Mei would love to play around with the funnels and give Ochako all sorts of different little variants. Ochako's AR visor allows her to always know the locations of her funnels, so she can always be trying to get a villain to go under one, or she can control the funnels themselves to get them into position. I think it's a really good idea to give Ochako little drone support items because these could be filled with fire extinguisher components or rope to really help her level of usefulness in a fire or active situation. So all in all, Ochako's suit upgrade could make some really big and useful changes. The goal of the upgrades was to increase her mobility and versatility, and it also improves on her gravity abilities. She has an updated visor, utility belt, and boots, new arm and neck guards that also serve as pressure point massagers to help her counteract her quirk's negative side, and she has several boosters and support items that help give her a ton of options, whether it's on the battlefield or at the scene of a disaster. What do you think about her upgrade? Would this be better than what she already has, or do you prefer her original outfit? As always, let me know in the comment section below, and once again, shout out to the amazing artist whose link you can find in the description. Make sure to hit that subscribe button if you want to see some more suit upgrade videos in the future, and if you'd like to get notifications on when I upload, hit that bell icon to join my league of notifications. And follow me on Twitter to keep up with all the goofy stuff I do besides uploading videos at Vocal Pineapple on Twitter. Attending UA High is a student that definitely stands out amongst the rest of his class, even as he shifts back into the shadows. That, of course, is Fumikage Tokoyami. Continuing in my series of videos looking at all sorts of different suit upgrades for the students in MHA's Class 1A, I want to finally take some time to talk about Tokoyami, because I've been promising to do so for over a year now, and he's one of my favorite characters in the class. So let's talk about how he could potentially grow just from the addition of one or two things to his hero design. You guys can follow me on Twitter at VocalPineapple, and you can like the video, subscribe, and hit that bell icon to join the Pineapple Agency and get notified whenever I upload. I want to talk about the legend born in shadow that is Tokoyami, but first, I actually have a word from this video's sponsor. With that said, it's time to talk about another shadow legend, Tokoyami, after that intro. Hit it! So why does Tokoyami need a costume upgrade? Well, his existing costume is fine, but I feel like he could definitely be getting more out of it, and at the end of the day, he tends to rely on Dark Shadow more than he ever needs to rely on support items or his costume, so why not give him some extra functionality? He wears a pair of bracelets, a black compression shirt, matching baggy black pants, a black cape, and a big belt buckle right next to the pouches that he carries on the sides that I'm sure are filled with medicinal supplies for the victims that he saves or birdseed or something. What stands out the most in his costume is the bright red choker that he wears around his neck, so that's something that'll of course stick around with the redesign. I want to say that one thing that was specifically left out was some sort of jetpack or huge fake wings that Tokoyami could use to fly. Tokoyami learns to fly, or really glide, from spending some time with Hawks and training Dark Shadow specifically for that purpose. But even though I think his flying could definitely be improved, I think the solution for how Tokoyami is going to learn how to fly more freely is going to come from personal growth and not just from his costume. So again, we didn't really look into too many ways to improve Tokoyami's flying too much, but I guess there is ways that he could at least stay in the air for longer periods of time, thanks to what some of these upgrades would allow him to do. So with all that said, what were the goals of this upgrade? First and foremost, we wanted to give Tokoyami the ability to regulate Dark Shadow's power, even at nighttime. It was important that we made it so Tokoyami had some level of control over Dark Shadow built into his suit, because not only can Dark Shadow rampage and cause others damage, but if Dark Shadow rampages while Tokoyami is wearing him in his full black Ankh form, there's really no defense against it that Tokoyami himself can rely on. This suit features designs that are meant to at least give Tokoyami a fighting chance at shining a light on Dark Shadow and controlling his power. Second, we wanted to reduce Tokoyami's overall reliance on Dark Shadow for times when he doesn't need to use him, or using him might be unwise due to the level of darkness and Tokoyami's emotional state. For times where Tokoyami wants to be able to fight without Dark Shadow by his side, we've given Tokoyami some tools to make him a bit more dangerous to get near. Since one of Dark Shadow's biggest uses is long-range attacks, we wanted to give Tokoyami some long-range options that he could use with or without Dark Shadow, and I think the design manages to add a nice level of utility for Tokoyami, giving him a number of new things that he can do and take advantage of. Third and finally, we wanted to make sure that while the upgrade does focus on making Tokoyami himself much more useful and self-reliant, it also keeps in mind that Dark Shadow and Tokoyami are inseparable, and when Tokoyami does have control over Dark Shadow, he's able to do some pretty amazing things with him. While some of the upgrades are about keeping Dark Shadow under control, some of them are made with Dark Shadow in mind, since his existence and his dark form of energy could definitely be used in various ways to create new strategies and opportunities with whatever Tokoyami has at his disposal. While putting everything together, we also wanted to have a little bit of fun and show off a different look for Tokoyami's outfit under his cloak to give him more of a unique look, and also to really let him enjoy those Edgar Allan Poe vibes that he loves so much. At the same time, if his cloak is extended all the way out, you wouldn't see much of a difference in his outfit, and he's free to use his regular outfit at any time by just adding these two pieces onto it. So what specifically does Tokoyami have now that he didn't have before? Well, let's start with his brand new cloak. His cloak is retractable now, so Tokoyami can keep his cloak on and cover his entire body, but you can also have it get smaller, allowing him to move his arms around more freely. This feature also allows Tokoyami to control how much light is hitting Dark Shadow during the daytime, so if he wants to keep Dark Shadow's power low, he can keep the cape up in its retracted state. That way there's less shadow for Dark Shadow to use as a source of his power. With the cloak completely extended, there's the usual area of shade and darkness that Dark Shadow thrives on. The inside of the cape is double lined with special pigments that each serve their own purpose. The white pigment increases the reflectiveness of the cloak so that it can reflect and generate more light with less incoming light needed. This would of course be useful for making use of incoming light to take control of Dark Shadow, but Tokoyami could even get really cheeky and use his cloak to use a reflection of the sun to solar flare his opponents, using the light
but still having his revelry in the dark as he wails on his enemy while they rub their eyes and suffer in their blind darkness. Tokoyami can switch the dominant pigment currently taking effect and go from white to Vanta Black. This special Vanta Black coating creates a zone of pure darkness within Tokoyami's cape. Vanta Black itself is some of the world's darkest material as it reflects virtually no light at all. It looks like a hole in space when you see it, especially if it's painted onto something like a ball. The special version of this material used for Tokoyami's cloak gets Dark Shadow absolutely fired up, and at night, it really makes it seem like Tokoyami and Dark Shadow are finally one with the shadows. I think it would really make Dark Shadow's power that much more potent because again, his strength is based on how much dark there is, and this material again reflects nearly zero light. The second and final support item added to Tokoyami's kit are a pair of new gloves. Tokoyami isn't exactly known for his hand-to-hand combat ability, but ever since learning how to wear Dark Shadow, he's actually become a massive force to be reckoned with, being even more impressive now in the manga after interning at Hawks' agency. Tokoyami can definitely do some major damage to you if you get close, but why not add a little more spice and versatility to his skill set? These new gauntlets are made of an incredibly durable steel alloy, but the metal has been treated with the same Vanta Black pigments used in Tokoyami's cloak. This makes the gloves look like there's an almost dark, smoky sort of finish that looks like shadows dancing instead of metal shining when you get close and look at it. Dark Shadow has his own Wolverine-style hand claw attachments, so why not give Tokoyami himself some hand-to-hand tech to rely on? Continuing with Tokoyami's bird theme, if Hawks' goal was to give Tokoyami his wings, ours was to give Tokoyami his talons. These gauntlets have talon-like attachments at the tips of the fingers that also sort of look like sharp little beaks. These are insanely sharp and allow Tokoyami to cut into cars and metal doors to help get others out of the way of danger, but of course they could be used as a dangerous tool against more durable or dangerous villains. Having these extended tips in the fingers also helps enhance Tokoyami's grip because the ends can lock into their place, digging into whatever Tokoyami's holding, making it so nothing can escape the gripping dark. These gauntlets don't stop at just having short-range functionality though, because if you notice, the finger attachments also sort of mimic the shape of Dark Shadow's head. If Tokoyami aims his fingers and hands forward, he can actually send these flying from their sockets as high-speed projectiles. By sending out a bit of Dark Shadow's energy along with these projectiles, he can even actually use Dark Shadow to control the speed and trajectory of these projectiles, and when he does so, the projectiles get coated and filled with Dark Shadow's energy. With a little eye-shaped hole revealing the gold piece underneath, it's sort of like Tokoyami can shoot little flying Dark Shadow chicks out of his hands, but worry not because of course the energy that's used to control the projectiles is still linked to Tokoyami and Dark Shadow. This means that like a fisherman reeling his line back in, Tokoyami can quickly pull in and return his loose projectile claws from wherever they're dug into, but with enough strength, he might even be able to drag enemies around by sending all 5 claws into his opponent, locking in and retracting his claws to bring the person all the way to Tokoyami. Get over here style! Now I know adding 2 items seems like it isn't much, but Tokoyami is actually massively skilled and doesn't need much to make himself an even more dominant force. We know that he got a massive boost thanks to training at Hawks' agency, but I still think there should be more of a focus on Tokoyami himself developing apart from what he can do with Dark Shadow. Like I've said, him developing on his own would lead to new heights when him and Dark Shadow do team up, and these 2 support items reflect our ideas on how to add to what Tokoyami can do without doing too much. I hope you guys enjoyed seeing how we'd upgrade him, and let me know who else you want to see get new designs or upgrades in the future. In MHA, Deku is a young hero attending UA High, working towards his goal of becoming the world's greatest hero. Continuing in my series of videos looking at various different upgrades the heroes at MHA could get or need, I want to take a second look at our main hero. Previously, we've talked about how Deku could upgrade his suit, but that was way back when Deku had just gotten his costume Gamma in the anime. Since then, Deku has continued to master One for All, to the point where he's now beginning to awaken the ability to use the quirks of the previous users that are stored within it. Let's talk about a potential suit upgrade for Deku that focuses on his new Black Whip quirk, but first I want to remind you guys that you can follow me on Twitter at VocalPineapple and subscribe, click the bell icon, and hit notify in the drop-down menu to get updated whenever I've got a new upload. Why do I think that Deku needs a suit upgrade? Well, there's nothing really wrong with his existing suit per se, but as a huge fan of comics, I always think it's really cool how various heroes have different costumes or even loadouts depending on the arc of the story that they're in or who they're fighting. Spider-Man obviously comes to mind since not only is he one of the most well-known and recognizable superheroes, but he's also been able to maintain that even with literally thousands of variations to his costume. These variations sometimes have different pieces of gear that he can use or a special gimmick like web gliders, but you can see how having a few suits in your toolkit might be useful. Deku's existing existing costume Gamma has his Iron Souls, which add a second impact to all of his kicks, and the costume also comes with long sleeves that help Deku's arms that he can also latch onto a pair of gloves. The gloves that he's currently using are the Air Force gloves that he gets from Mei Hatsume in the second half of My Hero Academia Season 4, and we've already seen them animated and in action thanks to Heroes Rising, but expect to see them getting way more use soon. So that's why I commissioned the artist, Daru, for this costume upgrade, but what are the goals of the upgrade itself? Well, a lot actually goes into designing a hero outfit, and it definitely gives you a lot of insight into what Melissa Shield and Mei have to go through when making a custom design. There were 4 main things that we wanted to do with this suit upgrade. First, with Deku's new ability Black Whip in mind, we wanted to design a suit that would fit the quirk instead of forcing Deku to make the quirk fit the suit like he has been by shooting Black Whip through his gloves. Black Whip itself doesn't necessarily stem from only the hands, and at the very least we've seen the tendrils from the quirk coming out of Deku's forearm. As Deku learns to use the power for longer periods of time and in more creative ways, his suit will have to be adjusted to allow for Black Whip to operate a bit more freely, or he might end up tearing it apart like he did when the quirk first activated. Second, we wanted to improve on the design of the first upgrade. Obviously, with every new iteration of a design, you want to get rid of things that didn't work and add new things that you think might work. The first Deku suit redesign was based around allowing Deku to use more of his full cow power at higher percentages, while also lessening the damage or risk of self-injury that Deku might face in any given battle. This design keeps the spirit of the first design alive, but adds what it needs to make it worthy of an upgrade. Third, it was important that Deku's suit remained sleek without too many things to weigh him down, but the costume also has to be compatible with constant upgrades or changes. Deku's a hero that moves at really high speeds and even finds himself midair sometimes, depending on wind pressure and aerodynamics to get from point A to point B. On top of that, his quirk is like a multi-tool that can do a number of things, so you don't actually need a complicated hero suit design that's going to weigh him down of item after item. Having the option to go for a more sleek loadout might be good for certain operations, but with that said, due to Deku's ever-evolving quirk situation, it's important to make any future suit modular so that you can swap in and out already existing or yet to be designed support items. What you see is pretty much the base version of the redesign, but with the addition of Deku's Air Force gloves or his Iron Souls, you can actually imagine a Deku that looks far more equipped for battle. Finally, of course, for the sake of a hero's presence along with not being the laughingstock of the entire hero network, style was considered. I mean, yes, we added a black and red jumpsuit for night operations, but it was probably also because it was really cool. So what is included with this redesign? Let's start from head to toe. First off, we have the thing that you might think hasn't really changed that much at first glance, but you'd be wrong. Deku's jumpsuit has a number of changes and improvements, from the suit itself to his hood that goes over his head. With this redesign, the jumpsuit has been upgraded to a stronger material, making it harder to burn, cut, or rip off. The shoulder pads in the previous design were a bit bulky even though they offered more defense. Since this design is all about keeping it sleek, his shoulder pads are actually integrated into the jumpsuit. These shoulder pauldrons are way smaller than the ones that we proposed in the last upgrade, but they also add an additional layer of protection without sacrificing ease of movement. We kept the jumpsuit design mostly the same to stay true to Inko's sketches because, obviously that's very important to Deku. But now it features a new small backpack of sorts. It's really more like a slightly raised surface near his shoulder blades, but I'm sure you're wondering, what is it for? Well, this is actually the hub for the suit's new Hero Awareness interface. The Hero Awareness interface uses state-of-the-art technology to scan cameras, police scanners, and the internet to determine if there are any developing or active crimes within a certain radius. There's more to the suit that we'll talk about in a bit, but first, let's talk about Deku's hood. With this look here, you can see that Deku's hood has been replaced with 2 pointed and advanced machine ears magnetically latched onto the plate that is Deku's backpack. If the Hero Awareness interface detects any danger nearby, the ears detach from the backpack, floating upwards into battle position, resting above Deku's head in a way that mirrors the ears from his old hood and, of course, All Might's hair. When up, the ears extend the range that the Hero Awareness interface can search to lead Deku towards the battlefront even easier, and in a way actually acting like a pair of giant digital ears. Deku's face mask has been improved, and not only does it block things like poisonous gas or Midnight's gas, but it also has an emergency oxygen feature in case Deku somehow gets dumped into an ocean or a body of water. The mask can actually extend upwards around Deku's eyes and face to form a full mask, and of course he can completely open it to show his smile to the people that he's there to save. The face mask is made of a strong material to block projectiles, shrapnel, and rubble, and the new chin guard offers additional protection against damage. There's a microphone and headphones built into the mask for communication and surveillance capabilities, and of course this is linked to the Hero Awareness interface and allows Deku to communicate with other heroes in real time. Its communication capabilities combined with the interface gives Deku the ability to share his plans and even call for backup with data about his location and health included. For his arms, the forearm length sleeves that Deku normally wears, as well as his Air Force gloves, are replaced by a pair of forearm gauntlets that actually end around Deku's wrists. These gauntlets have a strong, hard exterior, with ports around the wrist for Deku to gather Black Whip into a single point if that's what he wants to do. I told you there was more to the jumpsuit, and now you can see that it actually features new sleeves that go all the way down to Deku's arms and even onto his hands. The black material that you see is actually a special membrane derived from Deku's hair that only allows Black Whip to pass through it without disturbing the fabric itself. This means that Black Whip can completely freely pass through this fabric on Deku's sleeve without destroying it or ripping it. The open gauntlet design and the special fabric being all over Deku's arms and hands should allow Deku to use Black Whip for more of a surface area, including even in his palms or near his elbows. On his hands, you can see durable hard guards to absorb some shock from Deku's punches, while also making them feel like they're hitting even harder thanks to the strong material. On top of all of this, of course, the forearm gauntlets are entirely modular, and Deku's existing Air Force gloves can be snapped right onto them to allow him to put them on or off on the fly. Lastly, Deku's legs are one of the first things that he breaks, so of course he likes to keep those protected. His new leg wear is made of a more durable material that won't tear away like fabric, and it's built to take the force of Deku's kicks. Deku's iron soles are literally large clip-on style boots that probably wouldn't be good for any sort of quiet operation, so since this design is all about being sleek and maybe even doing some hero work at night or in the quiet, we decided to include some simple shoot style optimized armored shoes that have an extra piece of plate near the laces and a few other places. They don't feature the same explosive ability as Deku's iron soles, but they will let him move around quietly and nimbly without making too much noise and without leaving his feet defenseless. With this loadout, Deku should be fully equipped to handle the same scenarios that he's already been handling with Reckless Abandon, but now with the added benefit of a few new features, Deku's suit is way more of an asset in more situations than before. Instead of just wandering around town trying to figure out what's going on, imagine if Deku had the ability to know about crimes going on all around him without it coming from some kind of quirk. After all, Deku isn't really supposed to rely on a bunch of support items, but if he's gonna, why not use things that actually enhance his hero experience? Being able to communicate, pinpoint villains, and share ideas is going to show people how great of a hero Deku truly is, and it'd be wonderful to see a more active and about Deku hunting down villains to arrest or just responding to crimes. I can even imagine Deku wearing his jumpsuit under his costume so that he's always being updated on what's going on, sort of like how Endeavor has his costume under his clothes. Somehow. Next time I've got a costume designed for everyone's favorite character who loves caves, Tokoyami. I've been hinting at doing some sort of Tokoyami video for the longest time, and finally, it's the boys' time to revel in the dark. This Black Whip costume version upgrade for Deku was fun and interesting, but since I already have a Deku upgrade video, I'm actually looking forward to see what you guys think about the Tokoyami one way more, so stay tuned. I think I'll actually be covering another Deku suit upgrade soon, but I'll talk about that closer to when I have that video done. I would love to do these videos year-round, or at least a little more often, but the artist I commissioned the suit upgrades from is pretty busy, so understand if this series goes on hold for a little bit after this batch of upgrades, but thankfully Tokoyami's is finished either way, so it's up to you guys to get that video made with 5,000 likes. Either way, hopefully you enjoyed the suit upgrade, and I hope you're looking forward to Tokoyami's. Let me know who else you'd love to see in the comment section below, and I love you guys. It's Pineapple. Peace.